to their phone.
Right.
No,
And-
but
yeah.
see,
But
part
that's
of that
related.
is to reassure people, right?
Yes. I was till the last election a constituent of Rokhanda. I am still happy with it, right? I organized Heat to Terry, the first meet and greet in my backyard. And so right now I have representing me Rokhanda, Alex Lee in the state assembly, and Aisha Wahab in the state senate. I'm in the Bay Area, and now they moved me to Eric Swalwell's district, which is all over the world. But the important thing is what I'd like to point out to other people, what Alex is saying is, in California, we have a general primary. We have where you can be in the same party and still go on to the general, which is an opportunity. Both Rokhanda and Eric Swalwell knocked out establishment Democrats. Now, of course, in Eric Swalwell's case, it wasn't an improvement, that besides the point. But that is an opportunity. With Roe, I have seen Roe has been on a lot of issues to the left of Bernie, right? His name is, name sponsor for the Walmart bill, the Yemen war, that is Roe. And like you said, now we have, 10 years ago, when we first came to this country, socialist was a bad name. Now my son has grown up left of center. I am so proud of the fact that he's to the left of me. Doesn't get along with me, but he's to the left of me. Point is, we have these people, and I can just to give you names, right? So now we have Rashida Talab, we have Pramila Jayapal, and I am so proud that some of these folks are South Asian. Ro, Pramila. But I want to turn the mirror back into the community, right? Like, we had a lot of talk of religion today, but this group is not coming from the religious point of view. We are coming at it from an organically progressive point of view, right? And that's where, as I say, we need to think about this. The first generation of immigrants, frankly, as Pakistanis particularly, we were not progressive. I have worked on 2 Republican campaigns before I was 50 or 40. Because our community was socially conservative and immigrant, especially in Northern California, we had some, relatively liberal Republicans who took our community and made it Republican. Now we are drifting back out, and that's where I'm going to. A lot of our community engages with progressive issues because it affects us. We are, not we, but they are not progressive. So my request, talking to anyone I can get, you folks, I talked to, the candidate up in San Jose. We need to look at which people within our community are actually progressive. I am not against the people like Kier and everyone else. Frankly, before the disco bombing in Florida, people like Kier and Ismail Mikna and everyone would not raise a finger, a word for gay folks. In fact, they would, pile on to anti-gay issues. That has changed. There is a change coming in our community. But if we focus on folks that really are organically progressive, if you want a question, that's my question to you folks. Are you making that distinction? Are you seeing the trends in our community? And what can we do to help those?
As an organizer, I can tell you there are many levels of ways that we can, and I think, look, there are certain things that progressives actually align with Republicans on, which is why Bernie Sanders had one of the most successful town halls on Fox News, right? With people who are poor, struggling to get the barely living with that $17 an hour, which is now a fight, Bernie Sanders is fighting for, right? Thank God for him. And I have to say, I always tell people, for me, Bernie was a movement. He wasn't a candidate. Bernie wasn't a candidate, he was a movement. He allowed me the opportunity to understand that I have a seat at the table, right? What we have to do, and I would say I don't know who to talk to who would say, I'm a progressive, AAPI community member or not. I can't really care about that. What I do know as someone who's actually ran a congressional campaign before is that every single person, just imagine this, every single one of you here who has met these 2 men sitting here, if every single one of you hosted a house party, brought 20 of your folks out, 30 of your folks out, right? And the campaign will help support the food or whatever it is that you may need, or maybe not, because we're not making that much. But if you were to, each one of you supported these 2 candidates by bringing your folks into conversation. And we had an hour of something like this, right? And then each person donated $20 to $30 to it, right? Get these two men into Congress, right? The next two who come up for in red seats. It's a domino effect, I think, right? It is incumbent upon us to be able to do small organizing in our communities. The reason why 16 points of our policies that we put together as a Muslim community, whether they were Biden delegates or Bernie delegates, when I founded my organization, right, as a delegate, 16 points were adopted into the DNC platform. We didn't care. We just came together 2 days with 16 up to 20 delegates, and we wrote policies that impact our community. Next thing you know, the DNC calls us and says, hey, we adopted 16 of your points into a national platform, right? When we were organizing for it, we were putting a spreadsheet together, just calling people to show up to a meeting. We made that change. So yeah.
We have a question from Tabby, but before you say, I have this message in chat by Hamid, who says, I would also invite to rethink the notion the system is broken. The system is working very well as it was designed, and to expect it to reset itself would be chasing our tail. We should be listening to Black, Indigenous and migrant youth as they speak about the utter failure of the elders to continue to pander to the same old tired politics of appeasement and expect change. We can't reform this system that thrives on war and violence. That's where our organizing attention should be focused in a multi-generational way.
Can we get a round of applause for it?
Tabby.
Hi, my name is Tabitha Spence. I've been in Pakistan, where I followed this guy too for about 6 years. And now I'm actually at American University studying there. I just want to thank you guys for being here and speaking with us, also Hamid as well, for these very critical remarks. And I also kind of want to echo some of the concerns raised by Arsalan, because in 2016, I joined DSA. I was really inspired by the Bernie phenomenon, and I supported the squad. And it's been really, really disappointing to me to see them saying they're going to back Biden in the next election. Biden, you guys spoke about imperialism, militarism, climate change. Biden's government and the current Congress are not doing nearly enough, and in a lot of cases they're actively going in the wrong direction on these issues. We have seen on the domestic front, when talking about a lot of the social concerns, some good movement, and that's been really good to see. Also, someone raised the question about Medicare for all. It's good to see that as of yesterday or a few days ago, that's coming back to the agenda. But when we talk about internationalism and solidarity, I've been really concerned about why the squad members and Bernie have been actively supporting the military budget, why they aren't speaking up. Usually, a lot of people on the farther left say these squad members kind of have a rotating hero role, where one of them will vote the right way, and the rest will vote with the establishment Democrats. And so I do want to know more about your strategy for working together should you come into office with the other squad members. And it's been really interesting to see how the far right, with fewer people, have actually managed to extract major harmful concessions, but the left, the progressives, haven't been so strategic, have actually played ball, have compromised with Mama Bear, Nancy,
Right.
as we've heard, and it is a corporate duopoly, and if you're fighting within, how can you fight and win within? And I would love it if you did.
Good.
I want to address this question from the perspective of a person who descends from a country who watched civil society disintegrate and where we saw authoritarianism rise. One of the two major parties in the United States is an authoritarian party that's looking to take us back 50 years or more, roll back rights for women, LGBTQ people. There are existential threats to our civil liberties being posed on a near daily basis. They've stacked the federal judiciary with unpopularly elected Supreme Court justices who now want to take my right to get married away. They want to take your abortion rights away. We are in a dire time at the federal level in terms of one of the two major parties being sick. Now, in an ideal world, we don't have a two-party system, but in the United States, right now, it's a two-party system. Someone asks, why are you running as a Democrat? That's why, right? And in some respects, you have to play ball within the framework of that system. So, my thing here is when the opposing party in a two-party system is going to threaten to take away our civil liberties, because I come from a country where this happened 44 years ago, that we have a vested interest in saying, I'm going to line up for the moderate presidential candidate any day of the week over Trump or over an authoritarian.
Why
because
didn't
I know.
Bernie run?
So, that being said, here in California, or go to your, let's go down to the micro level, okay? I'm running in California. We have much more power here at the local level to elect real true progressives, which also goes to your question, sir, about true progressives and what is true progressives, right? To me, right here at the local level, we have the power to do that. We have a democratically controlled supermajority in the legislature here in California, and we got the power. We got the power there. We can pick and choose at the local level whether we want a corporate moderate in the role or we want a true progressive who supports single payer healthcare, who supports clean energy policy. So I think there's some nuance here to your question about where we're electing people and the realities of what's happening at the federal level, protecting against authoritarianism, fighting back against it, and then what we can do locally at the local level to start building a progressive bench from the grassroots, from the ground up.
That is exactly where I wanted to go to. So, Hania, please.
Yeah, so just to clarify something, AOC has actually not ratified it, right? And neither has Rashida, neither has Ilhan, neither has Corey, Congresswoman Bush. And to your point about Pramila Jayapal, I do have my reservations with her in on certain things because of what's happening in Ukraine and Russia right now. And, you know, she is the leader of the Progressive Caucus, and unfortunately, a lot of our, she takes it. Thank you. So I think, you know, they haven't, I was very disappointed as someone who was working closely on Marianne Williamson's campaign. I'm heartbroken when Bernie came out with that decision, right, to support Biden. I questioned it, I challenged it, right? And I think a part of it has to do with the fact that, you know, the progressives who are running on different tickets, they're not gaining the popularity. Marianne Williamson is not getting that, you know, be above 6%. Why? Because, again, you know, it is that fear. You sow fear in people, and people go, if anybody other than Biden, if anybody who has the lowest popularity rate right now than any other person, right? He is, what is he at, 36% right now with his popularity rate? People of America are saying, we want someone with fresh ideas, we want someone with bold ideas, and when Bernie endorsed Biden, I thought, oh my God, right? But I just do want to clarify that none of the squad members and beyond have, actually, and AOC came out and said, I have not made my decision yet, right? And that's because we don't know what's going to happen. The DNC right now, as we speak, does not want to hold a debate on the debate stage. In a democracy, just imagine that. I mean, we talk about Iran, right? We talk about how our current president in Iran was hand-selected by the supreme leader, not giving people the opportunity to cast their vote democratically. We have that happening here to where the DNC is rejecting a debate on the stage. Why? Because God forbid, we talk about universal healthcare system, we talk about the Pentagon budget, we talk about taxing the 1%.
God forbid.
God forbid. We talk about peace in between Ukrainians and Russians the way they want to achieve it. And Pramila Jayapal was a huge, unfortunately, reason why there was a letter that was issued by the Progressive Caucus asking for a diplomacy between Ukraine and peace and ceasefire, and that letter was retracted. When she does that, her constituents have to ask her questions. You should flood her email with why? Why? We demand. We vote for you, we demand, but then there comes a time where they also have to hold on to their position and where they are. Otherwise, and I've heard this from David, and I will say this, and I'll move on to you.
Okay, I'd like Zafar to intervene and then we'll go to
See,
them.
that is the reason that progressive needs to organize. See, change does not come only from politicians, very seldom from politicians. Change comes from us. It was the civil rights movement of '65 that made Lyndon Johnson sign some of the most progressive legislations. So what I'm saying is, the agent of change is not only politician, it is us. Whether we have that organizing or not, that decides how the change would be. So I think people like Derek, like I've known Derek, he's come to Nevada, he was organizing for Bernie in Nevada. I see a parallel between Ammar and Derek. Ammar is doing in PP 159 the same thing that Derek is doing in Victor. You know, Derek is trying to turn from Republican to progressive Democrat, what Ammar is doing from PTI and BML Nawaz to a progressive. So I think as we conclude this session, we should see what we can do here. You know, what we can do in our local legislation. So what Hania said, we can ask Jaipal, if we are organized there, that why did you retract it? Because if we are not organized, then we can't do anything. Or for that, Ro Khanna, if
Yeah,
you know-
nobody's perfect. I mean,
Yes.
Ro, a lot of people are angry with Ro because of his position
Yes.
on India, Modi, he's, and off the record, I tell you, Modi will use, Ro will use the F word, the fascist word for Modi and his party. Officially, he can do it. So there's,
So let's.
So yeah, I just want to draw, yes, I mean, let's go towards this last 10 minutes. And you know, some ideas have already been laid on the table. So Hania mentioned about small donations, about the power of very small contributions in achieving bigger things, you know. And
Especially people in California.
In California,
They can
those who are
do
there.
house parties, small house parties, call 20, 30 people, have Derek and Alex, you know, because that's the local
Yeah.
organizing.
yeah.
And I will be contacting every single one of you if I may to throw a house party for Derek and for Alex. So we can test it from
But-
here and we'll go forward.
But let's hear from others. Are there, I mean, we have just last 8 or 9 minutes. You from Georgia?
We'll come
Oh.
to Georgia, we'll do a Zoom party.
We worked for that time,
Yeah,
for the last year, and we could work.
you worked.
We did that on
You
your
organized.
I knocked 6,000 doors in Atlanta.
I was in the Fulton County and then the other counties, counting, recounting, everything.
Yes.
But I have a no hope. The government comes and they can resolve the economic problem for the people. I have a no hope for any government.
I know. So,
Because the crisis,
yeah.
the crises are going deeper and deeper. And the homeless people are going more and more and thousand due to that level of poverty.
Yes.
So,
So,
it's a major problem.
so if I may, Dr. Umar Ali, I think you should contribute something and tell how can Pakistani progressives organize. Forget about the ideology part. That's for later, for the evening. So, how can we support, you know, Derek, people like Derek, people like Alex, Hania's presidential candidate?
Money for them, they have to support them.
Okay, okay, yes, okay, good, good, good. Any other ideas from Liaquat Saab, Qazi Saab? After listening to 3 and 4 speakers, let's gather some more ideas. Ammar? Okay, Sean.